Christmas lights sparkled across the bustling city square, casting a warm glow on the festive streets. Laughter and the jingle of bells filled the crisp winter air as families and friends gathered to celebrate. But for Adrian Blackwood, the CEO of a leading tech corporation, Christmas Eve was just another workday. Stepping out of his towering office building, briefcase in hand, Adrian exuded the composed, sharp demeanor of a man who had everything yet felt nothing. He glanced around, barely registering the holiday cheer. Christmas, to him, was a hollow tradition, one he avoided each year. As he made his way through the square, something caught his eye. A modest charity booth tucked into a quiet corner. The booth was decorated with humble touches, small wrapped gifts, simple donation jars, and manned by a young woman. She didn't wear the bright smiles of the other vendors. Instead, her expression was calm, almost solemn, yet her eyes gleamed with a quiet intensity. Adrian stopped in his tracks. There was something strikingly familiar about her, though he couldn't quite place it. She had soft brown hair tucked into a simple braid and wore a cozy knit sweater that seemed out of place in the sea of extravagant holiday outfits. As she glanced up, their eyes met briefly before she looked away, her demeanor reserved. But in that fleeting moment, Adrian felt an inexplicable pull. Her gaze held something deeper, almost like recognition. The young woman seemed to know who he was, though it wasn't a look of admiration or curiosity. It was distant, guarded, and even cold. Adrian hesitated for a moment, unsure why he felt drawn to her or why her presence left him unsettled. As he turned to leave, he glanced back one last time. The girl was still there, now speaking softly to a passerby, her movements deliberate and composed. Adrian's thoughts churned as he walked away, the image of her lingering in his mind. At this point, dear viewers, where are you celebrating Christmas? Are you surrounded by loved ones, or perhaps spending it quietly on your own? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more captivating tales. Now, let's see how Adrian's mysterious encounter unfolds. The night was cold, but the city's festive lights cast a warm glow over the streets as Adrian's car glided through the downtown avenue. Inside, Adrian sat in silence, his thoughts swirling with images of the girl from the charity booth. Her face, her piercing gaze, it all felt strangely significant. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had met her before, or that she carried a weight of judgment he didn't fully understand. The car pulled up to the St. George Hotel, an iconic venue where tonight's prestigious charity gala was being held. Adrian stepped out, adjusting his coat as the valet took the keys. The air was filled with the hum of conversation and the clinking of glasses as the city's elite mingled in the grand lobby. Adrian moved through the crowd with ease, greeting familiar faces and exchanging polite pleasantries. But his composure faltered the moment he saw her again. Across the room, standing near the edge of the crowd, was the same young woman from the booth. This time, she wasn't dressed in the simplicity of a charity worker, but in an elegant black dress that contrasted sharply with her earlier modest appearance. She seemed out of place among the glittering gowns and tailored suits, yet her posture was poised and confident. Adrian hesitated, unsure if he should approach. She hadn't noticed him yet, or perhaps she had, and was deliberately ignoring him. Her focus was elsewhere, her eyes scanning the room as though she were searching for something or someone. Unable to resist his curiosity, Adrian made his way over. "It seems we keep crossing paths," he said smoothly, his voice breaking the quiet space around them. She turned to him, her expression unreadable but calm. "Or maybe you're just in the habit of showing up where you're least expected," she replied, her tone neither welcoming nor dismissive. Adrian raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her confidence. "I don't believe we've been formally introduced." Adrian Blackwood. He extended his hand, his polished demeanor unshaken. She glanced at his hand briefly but didn't take it. "Lily," she said simply. "I'm here on behalf of Horizons Foundation." Adrian's brow furrowed slightly. Horizons Foundation. The name was familiar. one of those small non-profits that often partnered with larger corporations. It didn't seem like the type to host a gala of this scale. "And you're the one hosting this event?" he asked, a hint of curiosity in his voice. "Not hosting," she replied, her tone measured. "I'm here to speak for the foundation. You'll learn more soon." There was something in her words, a subtle edge, a quiet challenge that made Adrian pause. Her gaze lingered on him for a moment, steady and probing, before she turned back to the room. Later that evening, as the guests settled into their seats, the program began. The MC introduced several speakers, and Adrian half listened, his mind still preoccupied with Lily. When her name was announced, Adrian straightened in his seat. Lily stepped onto the stage, her presence commanding yet understated. The room quieted as she began to speak. Horizon's foundation was founded on a simple principle, that everyone deserves a second chance. She began, her voice steady but carrying an unmistakable passion. "We serve families displaced by hardship, individuals rebuilding their lives, and communities overlooked by systems designed to benefit only a few." Her words painted a vivid picture of resilience and hope. But as her tone shifted, Adrian felt a chill creep up his spine. There are those who thrive on ambition, who build their success without understanding or acknowledging the cost it imposes on others. For them, power is not just a tool, it's a shield, blinding them to the harm they leave in their wake. Adrian's chest tightened. Though she hadn't named anyone directly, her gaze swept across the room and briefly locked onto his. It wasn't an accusation, but it carried a weight he couldn't ignore. "Tonight is about more than charity," Lily continued. "It's about accountability, about understanding that no matter how far you've come, you owe it to those who helped you get there, even if you never noticed their sacrifices." Adrian clenched his jaw. The applause that followed her speech barely registered in his ears. There was something deeply personal in her words, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they were directed at him. As the event moved on, Adrian found himself seeking her out again. He needed answers. He needed to know why this stranger, this woman, had stirred memories he had long buried. And most of all, he needed to know why he couldn't look away. The gala continued with its usual flair, laughter, champagne, and small talk filling the air. But Adrian wasn't paying attention. Lily's speech had left him uneasy, her pointed words reverberating in his mind. Who was she? Really? And why did her presence feel so uncomfortably familiar? He finally spotted her at the edge of the room, standing by herself, observing the crowd. Her calm demeanor was a sharp contrast to the bustling energy around her. Taking a deep breath, Adrian approached, his curiosity now overriding his hesitation. "Impressive speech," he began, his voice smooth yet probing. Lily turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "Thank you. I meant every word." "I'm sure you did," Adrian replied, his tone carefully measured. "You spoke with such conviction, it almost felt personal." She met his gaze, her eyes steady and unyielding. "Perhaps it was." Adrian paused, caught off guard by her candor. "Have we met before?" he asked finally, his curiosity spilling over. Lily's lips curved into a faint smile, though it carried no warmth. "We have," she said simply. "But I doubt you remember." Adrian's brows furrowed. "Then remind me. Clearly, you have something to say." For a moment, Lily said nothing, as if debating whether to tell him the truth. Finally, she spoke, her voice calm but tinged with an edge of bitterness. "Your family had a housekeeper many years ago. Maria," she said. Watching his reaction closely, Adrian froze. The name hit him like a bolt of lightning. Maria. He hadn't thought of her in years. She had worked for his family during his childhood, a kind and gentle woman who had always looked out for him. But then she had disappeared suddenly, dismissed under circumstances he barely remembered. "Yes," Adrian said cautiously. "Maria worked for us. What does that have to do with you?" Lily's gaze hardened. "Maria was my mother." The revelation left Adrian momentarily speechless. He opened his mouth to respond, but Lily didn't give him the chance. "She devoted years of her life to your family," Lily continued, her voice unwavering. "She cared for you, protected you, even when your own parents didn't." And how was she repaid? She was accused of stealing something she never touched and thrown out without a second thought. Adrian's chest tightened. The memory of Maria's abrupt departure resurfaced in fragments. His mother's stern expression, his father's cold words, and Maria's tearful goodbye. As a child, he hadn't understood what had happened, and as an adult, he had buried it entirely. That wasn't my decision, Adrian said, his voice quieter now. I was just a boy. Lily nodded, but her expression didn't soften. Maybe not, but you're the man who inherited everything your family built, including the mistakes they made. And while you thrived, my mother struggled to rebuild her life from nothing. Adrian felt a pang of guilt he hadn't expected. I didn't know, he admitted, his voice almost a whisper. No, Lily replied, her tone sharp. You didn't care enough to find out. Lily's words weighed heavily on Adrian as the evening wore on. For the first time in years, he felt something crack through his polished exterior, a sense of responsibility for a past he had ignored. The next day, Adrian began digging into the family archives, searching for anything that could shed light on what had happened to Maria. In a dusty old chest stored in his office, he found a bundle of letters written by his late mother. Among them was one addressed to Maria, dated shortly after her dismissal. The letter was never sent. In it, his mother expressed deep regret for what had happened, confessing that the theft accusation had been fabricated by his father to cover up a personal failing. She wrote of her gratitude for Maria's loyalty and kindness, and admitted that dismissing her had been the family's greatest mistake. Adrian sat back in his chair, the weight of the truth pressing down on him. The woman who had cared for him as a child had been wronged in the worst way, and his family had never made it right. Later that evening, Adrian arrived at the Horizons Foundation office, the letter in hand. The space was modest but warm, filled with signs of the work Lily and her team were doing for the community. Lily greeted him with a mix of surprise and suspicion. What are you doing here? I owe you an apology, Adrian said, holding out the letter. And more than that, I owe your mother the truth. Lily hesitated before taking the letter. As she read it, her expression shifted from skepticism to shock, then to something softer, an emotion she wasn't ready to name. My mother deserved this years ago, she said finally, her voice trembling slightly. I know, Adrian replied, and I want to make it right. Starting with helping the foundation, I can't undo the past, but maybe I can help build a better future. Lily studied him for a moment, as if searching for sincerity. This isn't about money, Adrian, she said firmly. It's about accountability, and that's exactly what I'm offering, Adrian said. Not as a transaction, but as a way to honor your mother's legacy. Lily didn't respond immediately, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes. Maybe hope. Maybe the beginning of forgiveness. Adrian's search for redemption had begun, but he knew this was only the first step. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of his family's past and the chance to finally make amends. Adrian left the Horizons Foundation office with a heavy heart. The conversation with Lily replayed in his mind as he sat in his car, parked in the quiet, dimly lit street. He had expected anger, he deserved it, but her composure, her unwavering demand for accountability, left him grappling with a question he couldn't ignore. How far was he willing to go to make things right? The next morning, Adrian made a decision. He wouldn't just offer financial support to Horizons Foundation. He would address the harm done to Maria directly. To do that, he needed to know more about what had happened to her after she left his family's estate. Adrian hired a private investigator to track down Maria's whereabouts. A week later, the investigator returned with an update. Maria had passed away several years ago, succumbing to an illness while working as a seamstress to support herself and Lily. The news hit Adrian like a punch to the gut. The woman who had once been a source of warmth and stability in his chaotic childhood had spent her final years in hardship, far from the life of comfort she had helped maintain for his family. But the investigator uncovered more. Maria had kept a diary, which Lily had preserved after her death. Adrian knew this was his chance to understand Maria's side of the story fully. When he approached Lily to ask for the diary, her reaction was mixed. Why should I trust you with this? She asked, crossing her arms defensively. Because I need to know the truth, Adrian replied earnestly. I don't expect you to forgive me or my family, but if I'm going to make things right, I need to face the full scope of what we took from her, and from you. Lily hesitated before handing over the worn, leather-bound diary. This is all I have left of her, she said quietly. Don't make me regret this. That evening, Adrian sat alone in his penthouse apartment, reading Maria's diary by the soft glow of a table lamp. Her words painted a vivid picture of her life, her hopes, her struggles, and her love for her daughter. But as the entries progressed, the tone darkened. Maria wrote about her dismissal from the Blackwood estate, the humiliation of being accused of a crime she didn't commit, and the heartbreak of leaving Adrian, whom she had come to care for like a son. One entry stood out. The hardest part wasn't losing the job. It was knowing Adrian would grow up thinking I abandoned him. I hope one day he understands the truth, that I never stopped wishing the best for him, even after they cast me aside. Adrian set the diary down, overwhelmed by a mix of guilt and gratitude. Maria had been wronged, yet her love and kindness had endured. He realized that his efforts to help Horizons Foundation weren't just about restitution. They were about honoring the memory of a woman who had given so much without ever asking for anything in return. Determined to do more than just donate money, Adrian threw himself into helping Horizons Foundation. He worked with Lily to identify ways to expand its reach, using his business acumen and connections to secure new partnerships and resources. But not everyone was happy with Adrian's involvement. One of his business rivals, Victor Langston, saw an opportunity to undermine Adrian by targeting Horizons Foundation. Victor's company had plans to acquire the land where the foundation's main facility was located, intending to develop a luxury complex. The deal had been in the works for months, and Adrian's newfound support for the foundation put him squarely in Victor's crosshairs. When Lily received notice of the impending acquisition, she was devastated. If we lose this building, we lose everything, she told Adrian, her voice trembling with frustration. We're not going to lose it, Adrian said firmly. I'll make sure of that. Adrian arranged a meeting with Victor, using their shared history as leverage to get him to the negotiating table. The tension in the room was palpable as the two men faced off, each aware of the stakes. You've always been good at playing the savior, Victor sneered. But this isn't about charity. Adrian, it's about profit. And you're out of your league. Adrian leaned forward, his voice cold and steady. This isn't about profit for me. It's about doing the right thing, something you clearly don't understand. Walk away from this deal, Victor, or I'll make sure every investor you have knows exactly how you exploit communities for your own gain. Victor's smirk faltered. He knew Adrian's reputation carried weight, and a public scandal could ruin him. After a tense silence, Victor relented, agreeing to back off the acquisition. With the threat to Horizons Foundation neutralized, Adrian and Lily began working on plans to renovate the facility, ensuring it could serve even more people in need. Through their collaboration, the distance between them began to close. Lily saw Adrian's genuine commitment, while Adrian found himself inspired by Lily's resilience and dedication. On Christmas Eve, the foundation held an open house to celebrate its future. Adrian stood beside Lily as families and children filled the space, laughter and warmth replacing the shadows of uncertainty. This is just the beginning, Adrian said softly, glancing at Lily. She smiled, her expression softer than he had ever seen it. Maybe you're finally starting to understand what Maria saw in you all those years ago. For the first time in a long while, Adrian felt something he thought he'd lost: hope. And for the first time, Christmas didn't feel so hollow. The open house at Horizons Foundation was bustling with activity. Families laughed, children ran around clutching small gifts, and the warm glow of twinkling Christmas lights reflected off the snow-dusted windows. Adrian stood near the entrance, watching the joyful scene unfold. It was a stark contrast to the sterile, high-stakes corporate world he was used to, and for the first time in years, he felt like he was exactly where he needed to be. Lily was at the center of it all, organizing volunteers, greeting guests, and ensuring everything went smoothly. Adrian couldn't help but admire her. She had poured her heart into this event, and it showed. Every detail, From the handmade decorations to the personalized cards for each family, reflected her dedication. Adrian moved through the room, shaking hands with donors and chatting with volunteers. Many of them were beneficiaries of Horizons Foundation, and their stories were humbling. A single mother who had found stable housing, a young man who had escaped a cycle of poverty through the Foundation's education programs. Each story was a testament to the impact Lily and her team had made, and Adrian felt a renewed sense of purpose. As the evening progressed, Lily approached Adrian with a small package in her hands. "You've been working hard lately," she said with a faint smile. "You deserve a break, even if just for tonight." Adrian took the package, surprised. He wasn't used to receiving gifts. His world revolved around transactions, not gestures of kindness. He unwrapped it carefully to find an old photograph framed in simple wood. It was a picture of him as a young boy with Maria, taken in the garden of his family's estate. "How did you—" Adrian's voice trailed off, his eyes fixed on the image. "My mother kept it," Lily said softly. "She always spoke fondly of you, even after everything that happened. She believed in your potential. Adrian, I think she'd be proud to see the man you're becoming." Adrian swallowed hard, emotions swirling inside him. He had spent so long running from his past, but here it was, being offered back to him as a chance for redemption. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "This means more to me than I can put into words." As the night wound down, Adrian found Lily on the rooftop terrace, taking a moment of quiet away from the festivities. Snow fell gently around them, the city lights twinkling in the distance. "I wanted to thank you," Adrian said, stepping beside her. "Not just for tonight, but for everything. You've shown me what it means to truly make a difference." Lily turned to him, her expression soft but guarded. "It wasn't just me. Adrian, you've done more than you realize. This place wouldn't be here without your help." He hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded document. "I wanted to show you something. It's the deed to this building. It's yours now, yours and the Foundation's. No strings attached." Lily's eyes widened in shock. "Adrian, I can't accept this. It's too much. It's not enough," Adrian said firmly. "This is my way of honoring your mother's legacy and yours. You've built something extraordinary here. Lily, I want to ensure it continues, no matter what." For a moment, she said nothing, her gaze fixed on the document. Then she looked up at him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You didn't have to do this," she said quietly. "I wanted to," Adrian replied. "For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm doing something that truly matters." The conversation shifted, becoming lighter as they reminisced about the night. Adrian found himself laughing at Lily's stories, her wit and warmth drawing him in. For the first time, the tension between them seemed to ease, replaced by a growing connection that neither could ignore. As the clock struck midnight, a burst of laughter and cheers echoed from the party below. Adrian looked at Lily, the soft glow of the rooftop lights reflecting in her eyes. "Lily," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I don't know where this road leads, but I'd like to figure it out with you." Lily blinked, caught off guard by his vulnerability. "Adrian, I know I've made mistakes," he continued, stepping closer. "But meeting you, learning from you, it's changed me. You've shown me what it means to live for something greater than myself. I don't want to lose that, or you." For a moment, the only sound was the soft falling snow. Then, Lily smiled, a real, genuine smile that lit up her face. "Maybe we can figure it out together," she said. Adrian returned her smile, relief and gratitude flooding through him. Together, they watched the snow fall, the world around them quiet and full of possibilities. The open house marked not just a turning point for Horizons Foundation, but for Adrian and Lily as well. Adrian had started the evening as a man trying to make amends, but he left with something much more, a sense of purpose, a connection to his past, and the beginnings of a future he hadn't dared to imagine. As the lights dimmed and the last guests departed, Adrian looked back at the building, now filled with warmth and hope. For the first time, Christmas didn't feel like an empty tradition. It felt like a beginning. The morning after the open house, Adrian woke up to a quiet sense of contentment he hadn't felt in years. The snow outside his penthouse window sparkled under the soft glow of the winter sun. Memories of the previous evening played in his mind. Lily's smile, the laughter of the families, the warmth that filled Horizon's foundation. For the first time, Christmas felt meaningful. But he also knew the journey wasn't over. The changes he wanted to make in his life couldn't stop at one night of charity. It was time to rebuild connections, not just with the foundation and Lily, but with the parts of his past he had avoided for so long. That afternoon, Adrian made an unannounced trip to his family's old estate. The sprawling mansion had been sold years ago, but the current owners had agreed to let him visit for a few hours. Walking through the gates, he was struck by a wave of nostalgia and bittersweet memories. The garden where Maria had often worked was overgrown now, but Adrian could still picture her there, her hands tending to the flowers while she hummed softly. He stood in the spot where the photograph Lily had given him was taken, feeling a deep sense of longing. He made his way to the old study, where he discovered something unexpected, a small, locked drawer in the desk his father used to work at. With the help of the caretaker, Adrian opened it to find a box of letters and documents, including one from Maria to his late mother. In the letter, Maria thanked Adrian's mother for the kindness she had shown in their earlier years and expressed regret over how things had ended. But what struck Adrian most was the way Maria spoke about him. Adrian has a bright future ahead. I hope he grows into a man who uses his strength to lift others, not just himself. He has the potential to change lives. I hope he never forgets that. The words hit Adrian deeply. He realized how much faith Maria had in him. Even after everything that had happened, it was a faith he was determined to honor. Adrian returned to Horizon's foundation with an idea. He proposed hosting an annual Christmas gathering at the foundation, not just for the families it served, but for the entire community. This place is more than a building, he told Lily. It's a symbol of second chances, of hope. Let's make it a tradition to bring people together, just like we did last night. Lily was hesitant at first, but as Adrian shared his vision, she began to see the possibilities. If we do this, she said, it has to be about the people, not about appearances or publicity. Agreed, Adrian said. This is about creating something real, something lasting. Together, they began planning. Adrian used his connections to secure sponsors and resources, while Lily worked on engaging the community. As they collaborated, their relationship deepened. What had started as mutual distrust was slowly turning into a bond built on respect, shared purpose, and something neither of them was quite ready to name. On Christmas Day, Adrian surprised Lily by inviting her and the children from Horizon's foundation to his penthouse for dinner. He had transformed the space into a festive haven, complete with twinkling lights, a massive tree, and a feast large enough to feed an army. Lily was taken aback. You didn't have to do all this, she said, her voice soft. I wanted to, Adrian replied. Christmas was never something I looked forward to, but this year, it feels different because of you, and because of them. He gestured toward the children, who were already digging into the cookies and marveling at the decorations. As the evening progressed, Adrian made a heartfelt toast. To Maria, he said, raising his glass, and to everyone who believes in the power of second chances. This year, I've learned that the past doesn't have to define us. It can guide us toward something better if we let it. After the dinner, Adrian and Lily stood by the window, watching the snow fall over the city. The children's laughter echoed faintly in the background. You've changed, Adrian, Lily said, her voice quiet but warm. I hope so, he replied. But there's still more I want to do, more I need to make right. Lily turned to him, her expression thoughtful. You've already done more than I expected, and you've proven that you're willing to keep trying. That's enough for me. Adrian smiled, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. Then let's keep building something together, he said. As the snow continued to fall, the two of them stood side by side, their paths finally aligned. Adrian had found not just redemption, but a reason to hope for himself, for Lily, and for the future they were creating together. This Christmas marked the beginning of a new chapter, not just for Adrian and Lily, but for everyone touched by their journey. It was proof that even the most broken pasts could lead to something beautiful, as long as there was love, forgiveness, and the courage to change. As the snow continued to fall outside, Adrian and Lily stood side by side, gazing at the city lights below. The laughter of children and the warm hum of conversation filled the penthouse, creating a sense of peace and belonging. For Adrian, this Christmas wasn't just another holiday, it was a turning point. For Lily, it was a reminder of the power of resilience, connection, and hope. Together, they had started a new tradition, one that honored the past while building a brighter future. This story reminds us that even in the darkest moments, redemption and change are possible. Love, forgiveness, and the courage to take action can transform not just one life, but entire communities. What about you? Have you ever experienced a moment where you or someone close to you found a second chance? What does Christmas mean to you? Family? Forgiveness? Or a new beginning? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next video. Together, let's keep spreading hope and positivity this holiday season.